The Haunted Mirror. Hello friends, welcome to the horror ghost stories. The story begins. On a cold and stormy night in a small town nestled deep in the countryside, a young woman named Claire stumbles upon an old, dusty mirror hidden away in the attic of her newly inherited home. The house had been passed down from her grandmother, and Claire, hoping to escape the chaos of city life, had decided to move in. The mirror was framed in a dark, intricate wood that looked ancient. It stood tall, almost as if it were watching her. Curiosity took over as Claire dusted it off and positioned it against the wall. She noticed something odd. Her reflection looked different. Slightly off, like a blurry version of herself. It unsettled her, but she shrugged it off as nothing more than a trick of the light. Days pass, but Claire can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. Every time she passes the mirror, she feels an eerie pull, as if the glass is calling to her. At night, her dreams are filled with disturbing images, shadows lurking, whispers in the dark, and a mysterious figure standing before the mirror, staring into her eyes. One evening, Claire stands before the mirror, gazing at her reflection. The air grows cold. The room around her seems to fade away, leaving only the glass. Then, as if in slow motion, her reflection smiles unnaturally. It's not the smile she knows. Her heart races. Claire blinks, and it disappears. But she can't ignore the growing sense of dread. The following night, things take a darker turn. Claire hears whispers coming from the attic, and though she is terrified, she decides to investigate. The mirror seems to hum with an energy that was never there before. The attic itself feels heavier, as if the house is alive with something sinister. Claire watches the reflection in the mirror and sees a figure, standing behind her, breathing heavily. Her heart skips a beat. She spins around, but there's nothing there. Claire begins to feel an unshakable presence in the house, particularly around the mirror. She tries to avoid it, but every time she passes it, she hears faint whispers calling her name. Claire reaches out to her best friend, Emily, and tells her about the mirror and her growing paranoia. Emily, though skeptical, agrees to visit. Together, they try to uncover the mirror's history. They visit the local library and speak to the elderly librarian, who reveals a chilling tale. The mirror was once owned by a woman named Helena, who was rumored to have dabbled in dark magic. According to the stories, Helena had been obsessed with trying to capture the souls of the living, using the mirror as a gateway to another realm. Legend has it that anyone who gazed into it for too long would become trapped in its world, their soul stolen. Emily is skeptical, but Claire is shaken. That night, she and Emily gather their courage and decide to face the mirror head-on. As they stand before it, the air grows colder, and a shadow flickers across the glass. Suddenly, Claire's reflection twists and contorts, grinning malevolently. The whispers intensify. Emily tries to pull Claire away, but it's as if something is holding her there. Claire's reflection moves on its own, mimicking her movements, but with a cruel twist. Her own voice comes from the reflection, speaking in a tone that is not hers. "It's too late, Claire," the reflection whispers. "You're mine now." Panic sets in as the mirror's grip tightens. Claire starts to feel herself being pulled toward it, her body growing weaker with each passing second. Emily desperately tries to break the mirror, but it's like an invisible force prevents her from getting close. Claire screams, her body writhing, and then silence. Emily looks around, but Claire is gone. The mirror is still, but now, instead of Claire's reflection, there is a dark silhouette standing in the glass. It smiles, an evil grin stretching across its face. In a panic, Emily searches for a way to break the curse. She returns to the library and discovers a journal, one that once belonged to Helena. The final entry describes a way to banish the spirit trapped within the mirror. But it requires a sacrifice. The one who is trapped must willingly give up their soul, or another must take their place. Emily returns to the house, determined to save her friend, but the air around the mirror is thick with malevolent energy. She gazes into the mirror, her heart heavy with the decision she must make. Her reflection reaches out, beckoning her. The figure in the glass promises her power, freedom, and wealth if she joins them. But Emily knows the truth: there is no escape without a price. Emily stands before the mirror, her heart pounding in her chest. She knows that if she does nothing, Claire will remain trapped forever. With trembling hands, she grabs a shard of glass from a broken vase nearby and approaches the mirror. The whispers grow louder, urging her to step closer, to join them. "I won't let you have her," Emily whispers through gritted teeth. She slashes the glass with the shard, a burst of light erupting from the mirror as it cracks. The shadowy figure inside shrieks, a sound of pure terror. But just as the mirror shatters, the room falls into complete darkness. When Emily awakes, she finds herself standing in front of the shattered mirror, the pieces scattered across the floor. Claire is gone, and the house is silent once again. Emily breathes a sigh of relief, but something is wrong. She feels a strange sensation in her chest, a pressure she can't explain. Looking into the mirror fragments, she sees her own reflection, but it's no longer her. The reflection smiles, wickedly. "It's your turn now, Emily," the reflection whispers. The cycle has begun again. The haunted mirror waits, ever watchful, for the next soul to claim. Months pass, and Emily can't escape the memory of that fateful night. She moves to another town, away from the house and the mirror's legacy. Yet, despite the distance, the memories linger. Her reflection, distorted and unsettling, still haunts her. It was as if something from the mirror had followed her. Late one evening, while alone in her new apartment, Emily sits by the window, lost in thought. She hears a soft knock on the door. Her heart skips a beat. When she opens it, she is met by a man in a long coat, his face obscured by a shadow. He introduces himself as a private investigator, John Parker. "I believe you know something about a haunted mirror," he says, his voice calm, yet with a strange intensity. Emily recoils. "How did you know?" John reveals that he has been tracking down the cursed mirrors for years, investigating the dark rituals connected to them. He knows about the one in the house Claire had inherited. He tells Emily that while the mirror may have been destroyed, the evil it harbored can never truly be erased. The curse lives on, and it will keep hunting. "I don't care about the mirror anymore," Emily says, shaking her head. But John insists. The mirror hasn't been destroyed, it's just waiting for the next person to unknowingly unleash its power. And there's something else, the person who shattered the mirror becomes its next victim. Emily has no choice but to face the curse once more. Reluctantly, Emily agrees to help. She doesn't want to, but guilt consumes her. She had promised herself that she wouldn't let anyone else suffer as Claire had. Together, they begin to research, finding that the mirror had originally been crafted in the 18th century, and it had passed through several owners, each meeting a tragic end. The stories are endless, and the evil within the mirror seems to grow with every passing generation. After weeks of research, Emily and John track down the last surviving clue, a man who claims to have known Helena, the original owner of the mirror. This man, an elderly historian named Gregory, lives in a secluded farmhouse on the outskirts of town. When they arrive, he greets them warily, clearly aware of the danger they are about to face. Gregory confirms that Helena's mirror wasn't merely a tool for trapping souls, it was part of a dark, forbidden ritual meant to bridge the gap between the living world and the underworld. Helena, a powerful sorceress, had successfully trapped countless souls within the mirror, using them as vessels for her dark magic. But her greed and obsession eventually led to her downfall. The mirror became cursed, and anyone who tried to break the curse would become bound to it forever. Gregory reveals that the mirror's curse can only be broken by a blood sacrifice, but it must be done in the same room where the mirror was originally kept. Emily's heart sinks. She realizes what this means: for the curse to be destroyed, she must confront the mirror again, and possibly sacrifice herself. No one has ever returned after facing it, Gregory warns. Once you go back, there's no coming back. But Emily knows she has no choice. If she doesn't face the mirror now, the curse will only spread to more innocent victims. She and John make the difficult decision to return to the house. As they approach the house, Emily feels a growing unease in the pit of her stomach. The house, once silent and abandoned, now feels alive with dark energy. They arrive at the house under a blood-red moon, the wind howling in the distance. The door creaks open on its own as if waiting for them. Inside, the air feels thick and oppressive. Every step feels heavier as they move toward the attic. The mirror, once shattered, has mysteriously reassembled itself, standing tall in the corner, gleaming ominously in the dim light. Emily approaches it, her hands trembling. The whispers return, louder now, calling her name. Her reflection in the mirror is distorted, grotesque, and twisted. The evil within the glass pulls at her, urging her to step closer, to surrender. She knows that her time has come. "I'm not afraid of you," Emily whispers, forcing herself to look directly into the mirror. Suddenly, the room grows darker, and the shadows seem to twist and writhe as if alive. The reflection smiles wider, its eyes now fully black, like bottomless pits. Emily feels herself being drawn toward the mirror, her body moving against her will. Her breath quickens. The mirror's grip is tightening. John stands behind her, chanting the incantation Gregory had given them, a prayer to banish the evil for good. But as the words leave his mouth, the air around them explodes with a deafening roar. The reflection in the mirror begins to claw at the glass, its fingers scraping at the surface. In that moment, Emily makes the hardest choice of all. She steps forward into the mirror, offering herself as the final sacrifice. The mirror cracks, sending shards of glass flying through the air. The darkness surrounding them begins to shrink, but at the same time, Emily's body convulses in agony. She can feel her soul being torn apart, stretched thin, as if she is being pulled in two directions. John screams, but Emily can't hear him. The darkness inside the mirror is pulling her deeper, but something in her fights back. She focuses on Claire's face, her friend's image, her promise to save others, and with every ounce of strength, she forces herself to break free. The mirror cracks further, and the darkness begins to dissipate. Emily, weakened and trembling, stumbles back into the room. The mirror shatters completely, its pieces scattering across the floor. The oppressive energy that once filled the house fades, leaving only silence. John rushes to her side, his face pale with fear and disbelief. He holds her up as she collapses into his arms. I think it's over, Emily whispers, her voice barely audible, but as she looks at the shattered mirror, she sees something that chills her to the bone. Her reflection, still trapped in the glass, staring back at her. Months later, Emily is seen standing before a new mirror in her home. She has tried to move on, tried to live a normal life. But she knows the truth now, the mirror's curse is eternal. She can never truly escape. Her reflection smiles back at her, an evil grin she can no longer deny. The cycle is about to begin again. The end.